Welcome everybody. Veil of Sound Sunday, interview Sunday, and of course, as usual, we have a highly interesting guest, Matt Wainwright from Cold Gawd. Matt, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, like I said, man, thank you for having me.
So, first question for a few weeks now has always been, what kind of band merch, shirt or anything, is your band merch of the day?
Oh, okay. So I don't have any band merch on me right now. I'm rocking the now debunked Yeezy Gap hoodie, shrunken Yeezy Gap, and then I got a nice little Zara shirt underneath it. But I will say, when I was trying to pick my fit for the day, I was just gonna rock a Cold Gawd tee. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You sometimes got to pluck your own stuff. That is very good. So I'm just wearing a classic American hardcore thing, American Nightmare.
Oh, yeah, American Nightmare. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. Although I gotta say that the last two records didn't do too much for me, but the first stuff is always awesome. So
yeah, background is absolutely a classic.
Yeah. Right. Second of all, where are we catching you right now?
Right now, I'm in my girlfriend and I's lovely new apartment in Pasadena, California. It's 8 a.m., bright early in the morning California time. Got myself a cup of coffee, so yeah.
To make it clear for all our American viewers who see this, so he's wide awake, and as it's already 5 p.m. my side, I'm more like But so for everybody who might undeservedly and incorrectly not be 100% familiar with Cold Gawd, please explain your position in the band for everybody who listened to the record but might not know who is in it.
Yeah. So listening to the record, I do everything on it. So from guitar, bass, drums, singing. Everything except for the yelling vocals, and for the other people talking and Comfort Thug. I pretty much did everything. And then also my friend Tyler co-wrote Comfort Thug with me musically. But when we play live, I play guitar and I sing, and that's what I do.
So then, is it correct if we say that Cold Gawd is basically a solo project which then has live musicians?
I mean, it's a band now at this point. I mean, we've yet to write anything as a band when it comes to like creating music together. But I mean, it's definitely a band. But I also think it can exist in multiple forms. So if you see, like, for instance, like our lineup changes kind of heavily. So there are like a core 6 members, but any one of those people are switched out just if they can't make it, and we have friends who are also like musically inclined and talented, they help us out too. So but to answer your question, it's a band.
Okay, so I the way you described it right now, I was thinking it might even be something like a collective, but that sounds highly interesting.
Exactly. It's like Wu-Tang.
That's a very good comparison, man. So first of all, I of course have to ask that, looking at the record title, God shall get you the fuck out of where? LA, the US, where?
Just life in general, man.
Oh, that sounds like very atmospheric, depressive, suicidal black metal, but you're not doing that, so come on. Is it like... You go ahead. No, you go.
Okay, but I was gonna say, it's you hit it right on the head with atmospheric and depressive.
So you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, good. But yeah, I don't. You go ahead. I feel bad for stepping on you. Go for it.
No, that's all good. That's all good. So is then the project also some kind of cathartic release for you?
Absolutely. I can. I get my rocks off doing this music shit. So And it really, I said this a couple weeks ago, but I think it still remains true that, you know, I think shoegaze, the genre, is one of its many facets of it is being a sort of escapism, whether it's just, you know, getting lost in the wall of sound, or, you know, I mean, think about records that you listen to where, you know, it takes you out of the day-to-day. You're like, oh, like, enough of this mundane shit, like, I'm gonna go listen to this record and go away. And I feel that way even with the music that I create. When we're playing, when I'm writing, like I was just jamming on my acoustic yesterday, and, you know, just losing track of time before I had to head over to work. But yeah, I mean, it's this big level. It's cathartic, like being able to play and get these songs out there and listen to them over and over again. I feel like I was able to let something go and move on, and now go on to the next thing.
I like the pride with which you describe that. That is really cool. And with which you also describe what your own music does for you. That is very cool, because I think a lot of people inside the scene have this kind of, how should I say, this too shy and not proud enough of their own work. And I like that about the way you described it and about the music. But when I listen to what you just said, there are basically two questions that attach to that from me. So you said you like put on a record and it takes you away. Then, of course, what was the last record that took you away from?
Let me see. Hold up. I have to have it. Actually, I can answer that question right away. I've been going down this, like, I've been really getting into Beach House lately. I've known of them for years, but now I'm, like, really getting into the discography and, like, the type of art they create. And I think currently it was Depression Cherry maybe earlier on this year, but now I listen to Bloom, or that record 7.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about anything at all. Like, I just get to get lost in all the soundscapes that they make and go away to this nice place.
Would you agree that shoegaze is probably one of the few genres in which you can escape while playing a live show? Because of
for sure. I mean, the whole goal, at least in my experience, is to create an experience. Meaning, you know, it's more than just playing your songs and then after you're done, stopping and addressing the audience. And for some people, that's what they do. But to me, that's not escapism. Like, I'm trying to enjoy my band the same way that someone else in the crowd is. And I know that the way that I would like to see a shoegaze show, I'm sure you're aware of them, but that band Were, you know, I've seen them a bunch of times before they went away, and, you know, every time it just they were setting a mood, and I love just, like, waiting to see what they were going to do next, whether it's, you know, feedback in between songs, samples in between songs. The fog that they did on those couple tours, you know, it's setting a vibe, and I just love that. That was, like, my favorite band experience. Like, seeing a band play was seeing Were. So it's like taking what they did and then improving upon that in my way.
So what got you into shoegaze? Was there any particular, like, band or record or maybe even a concert that was, like, your gateway into shoegaze?
Yeah, well, Were was number one. I remember Were was supposed to open for Touche Amore at Chain Reaction back in 2012, and they unfortunately never showed up to that show. But, you know, this is back when I was just learning about all of this stuff, and this is peak Tumblr. So anything that I'm seeing online, I'm looking it up. I'm like, who the hell is this? I need to own their records, this and that. So at the time, I believe the June 7-inch was out, and that was the first thing that I listened to was the songs June Bevere and Sunday, and I honestly never heard anything like that, and I was like, wow, this shit's fucking, it's crazy, and got really into them, and then I think the next step after that to like really involve myself in the genre and learn everything, like the roots of where this all comes from, was when Nothing's Guilty of Everything came out. Like that, I really latched myself onto that record. I remember when it came out, and I was a senior in high school, and I would sneak listening to it in class. Like I'd have my hoodie up like this, and I'd have my earbuds in, so that way I could listen to Bet Nail like over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Where and Nothing, those are hands down the most important.
Very good choices, by the way.
Yeah.
I also like the idea how you, for lack of a better word, mash up genres. Because, of course, at the core, Cold Gawd is and will probably always be a shoegaze band, right? But there are some other things in there, and one thing that struck me was a certain, let's say, like R&B kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I hope that's correct. How did you get to that idea of mixing two essentially very different scenes with each other?
Well, I mean, at the crux of it, I mean, the subject material more or less is the same, especially when you get to the earlier stuff and kind of a lot of the lyrics that Where was writing. You know, they share a similar vein with R&B, whereas you know, it's these topics of love, lust, and longing.
Yeah,
the 3 L's, and you know, that's R&B in a nutshell. And
true.
So, you know, they just do it, and R&B just does it in a different way than shoegaze. But especially if you bring those topics, you bring those chords, which, you know, maybe on an R&B song are piano. There's always those little you know, even little guitar chords. Like I was listening to Usher the other day, and the song, of course I can't remember it right now, but it's the 7 o'clock on the dot, I'm in the drop top.
Yeah, I would have to ask my wife. She could right now straight away tell you which song it is. That's her youth.
Hell yeah, that's tight. But yeah, there's like a guitar chord back there that I was like, cool, gotta throw that into a Cold Gawd song, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of shared chords, shared imagery, and like I said, the topics.
Just to throw like the little what if game a step further. So you decided to bring some of the core elements of R&B into shoegaze. Why did you not choose to introduce shoegaze elements into R&B?
That's a good question. Mainly because
that's what we're known for.
Yeah, I like it. You know, fucking flex your shit, man. But,
of course. So
honestly, because I just know how to play guitar. Like my skill set lies in, you know, your typical band elements. So playing guitar, bass, and drums. I can do all that. I really can't make beats. And also, as much as I'm a great singer, those R&B people are way better than me, and shoegaze lends itself to a little bit of disguising any flaws you may have. So and it's something I've studied a lot more. So yeah, I just have more of a knack for shoegaze than I do R&B. But you know, I would love to get on like a Drake, like a CC's interlude, and do something like that. You know, I would love to. Now that like I have certain people at my disposal, and just even like new, because even with the demoing process for God Get Me, I was learning how to, you know, do just very light audio engineering. And so now, you know, I could probably sit down and Reaper or whatever and like take a beat off of YouTube and figure out what to do.
Would you agree that when looking at those two genres, that one, R&B, is very much focused on the vocals, whereas shoegaze is, of course, much more focused on the music? Would you agree on that, A? And would you then B, say, that's also one of the reasons why I chose shoegaze?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoy, out of all the instruments that I know how to play, I enjoy playing guitar the most. So, in that sense, you know, I'm more of a music person when it comes to shoegaze and like being able to layer all that stuff. And you know, now because I have the interest in R&B and being able to place the vocals more forward, you know, that's why on the record the vocals show through way more than a lot of your typical shoegaze stuff.
Yeah, they're much more front and center. That's true. That's also something that I highly enjoy about the record. You know, you got somebody who is, for shoegaze comparisons, a singing unicorn. You know, whereas you just said, you know, like if you had it done the other way around, but inside the scene, you're definitely one of the singers on the good and better side. And I like the way that you just described, you know, like also placing the vocals a few more steps to the center of the stage. When you mixed the record, was that a deliberate decision?
Yes. So Gabe Larga Espada is the engineer for the record, and I went with him because, well, one, I knew the sounds that he gets for guitars was perfect. It's what I wanted. You know, at the time he did a lot more heavier stuff, a lot more like hardcore, that metalcore sort of thing. So taking shoegaze to him, I knew he was going to be able to get the tones that I wanted, you know, really fat and really dirty. As well as he has a knack for pop music. And, you know, similar to R&B, pop has the vocals front and center. And so as much as I would have loved to have my vocals buried, I knew he wasn't going to do that. And so it was sort of this happy marriage of the skills that he had, and plus me wanting to have enough reverb on my vocals to, you know, really cement it as shoegaze as opposed to anything else. So that's all Gabe. He was able to put it. He was able to find a place to put it in the mix where it wasn't too much above the music itself. Like I think it fits pretty squarely, but it shines in a way that it doesn't on any other contemporary records.
True, definitely. When going through your lyrics, and also, of course, looking at press kits and other stuff, I somewhere had the feeling as if you're not only trying to incorporate R&B into shoegaze, but also are trying to bring African Americans more into the scene. Is that just a notion that I had, or is that something that is really important to you?
I mean, yeah, it's super important. You know, as there's not a lot of, I mean, I'm sure you could do a quick scan in your mind of people who look like me who are rocking the title shoegaze, and it's gonna come up 0 results found. And you know, that's kind of.
I actually did that, and for everybody listening, I really sat down for an hour and I was thinking hard, and I didn't come up with another African American frontman in shoegaze.
Yeah, and you know, it's not to say that it's my mission in any way, but it would be dope for the existence of Cold Gawd and me in the genre to bring, you know, to like instill a sort of confidence into other black kids or people of culture people of color, and you know, bring them, you know, give them the confidence to be able to be like, yo, I'm gonna rock this jazz master, because, you know, especially when you're a person of color into stuff like this, you know, and it doesn't happen. I'm 26 now, so I think people could give a fuck less about being genre purist about anything. But, you know, when you're growing up, and especially when I was 18, getting into this sort of stuff, and when I was younger, getting into Green Day and whatever, you know, some kids could classify it as quote unquote white shit, right? And, you know, that's it doesn't.
Yeah, in the sense that for guys are white, and some of our music is.
Correct. So that's what they're seeing. Like they're not seeing a reflection of themselves. So that way it's like, okay, well then what's that foreign shit over there, right? Yeah. And so for me to, you know, I've held on to this for a long time, and you know, I'm sure there are kids who are like 16, 17 who are finding out about Cold Gawd, and now they're like, oh, there's somebody who looks like me, like I'm gonna pick up the guitar and do this sort of thing. Yeah. And I think that's dope. You know, I think there should be more people of color in the scene. And I'm friends with like the people in Zulu, and you know, Zulu, that's kind of maybe not more or less their mission, but something that obviously you can see the effect of currently. Like Zulu's been around for a couple of years, and there's already more people of color, like visibly more people of color into the scene, you know. Yeah. And so, and that's just through their existence. And they preach a pro-black message, not to say that we don't, but first of all, I don't really talk to the crowd, and Anaya does. But, you know, I think it's just the existence in general is going to bring more people into the game.
So you said you're not on a mission, but you're not on a mission, but you would like to see that happen, right?
Right. Because I mean, in general, my mission is just to make good art, and the effects of that are whatever they will be. So to say, like, if in the process of me making this great art, if more black people end up being front men or front women of shoegaze bands, or there's all black shoegaze bands. I mean, you know, there is A.R. Kane, right? But, you know, we're not even like all black, and obviously that's not the goal here. But, you know, what the day that comes, that's going to be very exciting. And just to think about the elements that they're going to bring, like they're going to have all the same influences that I have outside of shoegaze, and then they're going to have shoegaze, and then they're going to have what I would imagine would be like my influence on top of that. So that's going to sound fucking nuts.
It would. But have you got any idea why we have so few people of color or African Americans or generally people from a migrational background in a scene like shoegaze?
I think, like I was saying before, I just think people don't see of a reflection. They don't see people who look like them doing a thing, and so it's almost a sort of daunting task to feel like it's easy for you to get involved into a certain thing. You know, I could speak from experience for sure. I mean, and that goes amongst like different walks of life that I've decided to put myself in. Of course. You know, it's kind of challenging to not have somebody who may have my same background or experience and not be able to ask them questions or get advice, you know? And so, you know, when you don't see people who look like you, you're like, oh, I don't know, can I do it? Can I do it? And so I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's true. And then what I also like about Cold Gawd is that even though you would be happy if that like role model thing happened, but it's also the way that you are not trying to push that too hard. There are elements of African American culture and of R&B in Cold Gawd, but it's not the way as if you say like, oh, we got to push this to the max. so you have like you're using slang and cuss words, and you're using some ideas and phrases, but there is a little bit more to that, isn't there? Like there is a little bit more than just like using the N word, which I'm not allowed to say, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's taking influence from everything. You know, it's not to just be influenced by shoegaze and making shoegaze music. I mean, you know, 1,000,001 people do that, and think about all those bands that have probably popped up and then just gone away. You know, and you know, I'm into rap. I'm into West Side Gun. I'm into Solange. I'm into Ye. I'm into Jay-Z. I'm into Beyonce. And it's, you know, why leave that? Why keep it separate? There's no point. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of good art. Just because people got different skin tones and whatever, and the beat might be different, doesn't mean that these things can't merge. And so I think it would be dumb for me to not pull, like, you know, like this, like the high fashion shit of Roddy Ricch or West Side Gun, and, you know, just keep that elsewhere. Like, I gotta bring that into what I'm doing now, because it's different. You know, there hasn't been much of a reshaping of the genre in quite some time, and you know, and I think bringing these certain elements are helping do that, in my humble opinion.
No, it's not only your humble opinion. I think you're also very right about that. I mean, when you look at shoegaze, the genre has been, I don't want to say stuck, but it had been very similar for the last 30 years, basically since its inception. So yeah, bringing new stuff in is always a good thing. And one track that really struck me because of its musical foundation and because of the conversation in it was Comfort Fuck. Is that track and also the topic of a conversation in Comfort Fuck, is that in any way a programmatic thing for you and the band? Because you're basically talking about the problems that bands of color have getting into a scene, getting a gig, playing. So is that like a programmatic thing? Are you witnessing those difficulties?
No, I mean, it's I would say it's definitely facing a, you know, it being a new thing. It's hard for it to be accepted off it, you know, because I think people don't really have a reference for what Cold Gawd is. Like, there's no other band to look back on and say, oh, okay, they're like so and so, so we like them. I mean, it's pretty easy to level the criticism that is Word Junior against us, and that's okay with me. But, you know, there's no frame of reference for what we do. So anytime Cold Gawd pops up anywhere online, you know, I see the comments, and people are like, oh, like, what is this? Like, I remember the first time that the record dropped, some kid on Reddit, without even listening to it, assumed that the record was a mumble rap record, which to me is like, that's not it is offensive, but I wasn't offended by it. That was kind of more like, it was fuel for me to be like, okay, like, you think that's mumble rap? Guess what? Like, fucking strap in, because it's gonna be the best record you've ever heard. But yeah, I mean, it's more so just, you know, it's a song about just getting into a space and, you know, changing that motherfucker. Like, there's gonna be a lot of people who get handed these opportunities and maybe not so much really work for it, maybe as hard as say that I have to, and they're just going to maintain the status quo. Whereas with me, you know, I may have to work a little harder to get into these spaces that I feel like I should just kind of be walked into. But the second I get in there, I'm flipping that bitch on its head. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that is definitely true. You're in a way, you're changing the rules of game, right?
Exactly, and that's more so what it's about. It's going into a place that has a status quo, and just changing it, no matter how hard it's gonna be. You know, there's a lot of adversities. There's a lot of people who are gonna get it before you do, who don't do shit with it, and it's like, okay, like you can't let that shit, you know, deter you from your path. Like, you know, I got a mission with this sort of thing, and you know, I'm gonna see to it regardless of who's here right now, who comes next.
Has this level of adversity, has that changed over the years? I mean, because of course you have already done several concerts, and this is not like the first songs you ever put out, you know. So has the level of diversity changed over the last couple of years for you in Cold Gawd?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember like the first big thing that was a problem was, and mind you, so far, at least to me, you know, none of it has been necessarily racial in any way, but you know,
which is a very good thing to hear, right?
This new thing without having any. Yeah, exactly. You know, our first issue, like I remember, like our first show was the hardest thing to get done because, you know, we had that one record, we had Creative Pursuits, but we hadn't played a show, and so I'm hitting up all these places months in advance, like, hey, can we book here? Hey, can we book here? And you know, everyone's turning it down left and right because they hadn't seen it before. They had the record. And I was sending the record early to everybody, trying to be like, hey, listen to this. Now can we play here? And people at the time just weren't necessarily picking up what I was putting down. And eventually we were able to get our show done. And now we're playing shows fucking, I mean, not everywhere, but I'll say left and right, right? But yeah, I mean, as this thing grows, I think adversity is only going to get bigger because, you know, the thing is, I want to be the hottest thing out. And I think, you know, me pushing on that ceiling when there's people who maybe have been in the game longer, or have accomplished certain things that maybe we have yet to accomplish. And, you know, it hasn't even been like Cold Gawd's been a thing since 2020, but we haven't even been like, as a band, as a unit, we haven't been a thing for, it's still a little less than a year. Like, when we play that Deftone show, that'll be the year anniversary of the band being a band. And, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to push it further and further. So I've yet to, there's like small little things, but nothing, like, it's a lot of stuff that I can handle. But I know there will be adversity on the way to the top, and I welcome it. You know, I was able to get us our first show. What's to stop us from, you know, playing Coachella or playing like Made in America, or, you know, me being able to get Snow Allegra to feature on the record? Like, it's all possible.
Yeah, it is, definitely. What I also would like to talk about are like a few lines from a few of your tracks, and there is one in particular that I would like to talk about, and that is from To Iris Prince, where you say, I still can't figure out who I am. Dark skin, present youth. It's all I can do. Is that at least to me, that is kind of an ambiguous line, because A, it's a personal reflection of your own status, and B, it seems to be also something about you being an outsider in a predominantly white scene. Is that correct, or am I making things up?
I mean, so I think first of all, everything is up to its own interpretation. So what you're able to gather from that, I do appreciate that, and you know, I'm sure that it's other people may think that too, and it gets your head that scratch a little bit. But I remember when I was writing it, I mean, mainly that song it's just kind of like, it was me in a very dour place. It's you know, the line, like, I still can't figure out who I am. I mean, it's a real statement, I don't necessarily, it's hard to figure out the whole idea of purpose and things of that nature. But then, that last line kind of just boils it down to, all right, like, what can I see that's right in front of me? And maybe that's all that I am. And that's okay. It's just a matter of being able to make it work. So, like Dark's youthful black kid. Like, I know that's who I am, and that's who I'll always be. Even when I'm 50, I'll be a youthful black kid. And, there still may always be this larger sense of trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do on this earth, or like, why is my life worth any meaning? But I know what I got. At the end of the day, I know that I'm who I am, and I'm youthful. I got the spirit.
That's also one of those lines which, in a way, apart, of course, from the dark skin. That's one of those lines which is also like a typical, not cliche, but like a very, very important topic for shoegaze, right? Being an outsider, because shoegaze still isn't, apart from a very few bands, shoegaze is not a money-making machine, right? So,
yeah.
So it's an outsider thing. And even within that outsider thing, you are still an outsider, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think we always will be. And that's okay. Like, if we're the underdog forever, cool. Like, that's it. That's like, it'll keep that fighting spirit in me.
Yeah.
Which I think it's cool. To me, as much as it is difficult, and this kind of goes back to our adversity conversation, as much as it is difficult to get to certain places, I kind of, I like fighting from behind, because it means I really got to work, and once we hit certain milestones, it's gonna be all the more worth it, because I know that I worked my ass off to do it.
Yeah, and you've been very overweight. Something else that we already hit a little bit, but just to point it out, your music has this huge wall of sound, right? So there is this huge wall of sound for the Cold Gawd songs. But there is also some kind of accessibility, which comes from the vocals, of course, in a bit, but also the music itself, even though it's grand and big and huge, there is also this level of accessibility and appeal to the music itself. Was that a difficult thing for you to achieve while you were writing the songs?
No. I mean, it comes from a lot of places. But first of all, we can, like, to get to the skeleton of it, the songs they're super simple. Like, if I were to show any guitar player, like, the tabs that I have written out to get it done, these songs, like, besides, like, changing tunings and stuff, these songs are super easy, and that's on purpose, because, I knew eventually down the line I was gonna have to show people how to play this stuff. And everybody who plays in the band, they're very skilled guitar players, but I think it's nice to be given a easy sheet of music and go, oh, that's it, okay, cool, and people can lock right in. Like, I have two friends who have helped us play shows, and I think they might have, like, studied. They, like, did 2 days of practicing on their own. They got right to practice, and we were locked in. So it's very purposeful to keep those songs really easy. I think too, at the time, I was listening to a lot of Nirvana when I was writing the record, and Kurt really had it dialed in, the whole pop structure, but bringing it to aggressive rock music. And so, it is the, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And that happens a couple of times on the record. I'm kind of used to music where you sort of verse it all the way through. But I think if you keep the songs structurally, verse, chorus, whatever, it's easy to find, like, the rhythms and latch on to certain things. And so that also comes from listening to a lot of R&B. That's the R&B structure. But yeah, I mean, you know, I was just listening to a lot of catchy shit at the time. Like, I mean, think of like "Smells Like Teen Spirit," like still the catchiest, one of the catchiest songs of all time.
Yeah,
Same thing with listening to like Snow Allegra, like "Ugh, Those Feels Again." You know, she has some songs that just like they're earwormy sort of shit. So
yeah,
that's all I was listening to at the time. So that showing through in Cold Gawd, it's kind of like, of course it was going to.
But was this appeal also something that you deliberately wanted to have?
I don't know if I consciously thought about it like that. I mean, definitely, the more people who like it, the better, in a way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it was just sort of this unconscious thing. Because even we're like on Sway and Feels Like You, their songs are structured like that, and it has this sort of appeal that maybe, you know, totally blown out shoegaze maybe doesn't have. It's pretty. I mean, I will say it was the goal to have it be pretty. You know, shoegaze, I think if you were to describe the genre, or even describe if you went to like a show where people really curated the vibe for it, you know, I think pretty should be a descriptor. And I think so the goal was to definitely make it feel like everything you were looking at was pretty or grandiose, or, you know, you wanted to say wow at the end of it, like you were seeing a good painting. And so I think, you know, that then translates to appeal. And so, of course, you know, the goal wasn't to not make it angular in a way, because, you know, I feel like if it's not appealing, it's angular, right?
Yeah.
And the goal was to make it not that, but you know, that's just also just not music that I listen to for the most part. You know, everything's like super pretty. So yeah,
because you also like it that way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So one last question that at least popped up somewhere in my head, and I don't know where. I mean, your band is called Cold Gawd, but there is no real religious background to it, right?
No, not really. I mean, myself, as a kid, currently non-practicing, not thinking about going back, but as a kid, I grew up Mormon. And so, I mean, there is like a religious background in the sense of who I am as a person. But, you know, the name honestly just comes from, I saw it on the back of somebody's truck. Like, somebody bought letters. Like, you know how it says, like, all-wheel drive? Somebody bought more letters for their car. And it said Cold Gawd. And I said, that's a good name for something. And, that's
a good exclamation, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's dope. Like, where it's just got this little swag to it that I don't know if the person who put that on their car knew it, but I saw that and I was like, yeah, like, you know, for lack of a better term, like, that shit's cold. And but yeah, I mean, there's not necessarily, like, you know, we're not like a Christian band or anything.
So for everybody who's now wondering why there is a little change of scenery, or why it seems as if we had a cut, yes, we did have a cut, because I was just allowed to witness Matt's application to the Chippendales, or was it Magic Mike? I forgot. So we were talking about the religious background, and you said that there basically is none. And
yeah,
I even thought so. So, we here at Veil of Sound never leave our interview partners without giving them a few questions that we like to call our quickfire round. You will always get two alternatives, like roses versus tulips, and you have to choose between them and maybe give a short explanation for your choice. Let's start with something I would say easy. Nirvana versus the Pixies.
Oh, Nirvana. Yeah, Nirvana.
You go ahead. No. You wanted to explain yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have to. You know, I know there's some Pixies diehards, and listen, Nirvana's just the better band. But you know, I was just going through a big Nirvana phase during God Get Me, and man, like those are just some of the best songs ever. Like Kurt just knew how to write them. Like it's just those are some hot licks, those are some hot solos, and they played amazing shows. Like if anyone, I mean, grunge is punk, right? But it wasn't, you know, the actual definition of punk. But they brought that sort of punk attitude to grunge, and you know that's how they were able to like differentiate themselves from the pack, and that was the hardest shit.
Question connected to the last two Nirvana records: Butch Vig or Steve Albini? Who would you like to produce your record?
Oh, that's a good one. Damn. I think if I'm going strictly off, I think where I'm going to go, every time I listen to a producer, I always think about what their drums sound like.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the type of drums that I like to use for Cold Gawd records, we're going Butch Vig.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the Steve, and especially the new mix, like the 2013 mixes to In Utero, I think are a lot better than the old ones. So those are really good, but I think, I think Butch Vig just has a really good, I like his drum tone.
Coming a little bit more into the shoegaze territory now. My Vitriol versus Silver Sun pickups.
Ooh, I'm not really too familiar with both of them, but I have heard. I do know a few Silver Sun pickup songs, so I'm gonna go Silver Sun pickup.
Let's go for some classics. Lush versus Slow Dive.
Slow Dive.
Mm-hmm. My Bloody Valentine or Cocteau Twins?
That's a tough one. Shit. I'm going to have to say My Bloody Valentine because Who Sees You? I think about that song a lot.
Mm-hmm. You've already mentioned the Deftones, but Deftones versus Palms.
Ooh. I'll go Deftones. I'm gonna go Deftones. Because they like us, so Deftones wins every time.
Having a look at where you come from, but not directly. San Diego versus San Francisco.
Oh, Frisco. Frisco all day. I love San Francisco. We play San Diego a lot, and I'm starting to like it. I like San Diego, and I'm beginning to like it more and more every time we go down there. But San Francisco just has this whole different energy to it that it just, I love it. And plus, I've yet to find this place in San Diego, but in San Francisco, inside of Golden Gate Park is where they have like the DeYoung Museum, and they have I think there's like the Rose Garden, like the what do you call where there's a bunch of flowers and shit? What are those like places called?
Flower show? No.
God damn it! I know. I can't.
Arboretum?
Yeah, something like that. But
not with trees, but with flowers, right?
But with flowers, yeah, and like plants and stuff, ferns and what have you. But there's like a little square in Golden Gate Park where that plus like the Japanese garden is, and I fucking love that place.
Santa Monica and now coming to LA, Santa Monica versus Venice Beach.
Oh, I actually just did both of those for the first time not too long ago. I'm gonna go Santa Monica. Yeah, Santa Monica.
The Hills versus the Valley.
I gotta go. I'm going the Valley. My girlfriend and I just picked up a couch from over in the Valley, and we were driving around, and she said, she said, if we were to ever get a house, would you want to get a house in the Inland Empire, which is where we're from, or in the valley? And we're driving around the valley, and I said, it looks pretty dope up here.
Yep. Let's go a little bit to the 90s, when you were just born and I was already an old guy. Toni Braxton versus Sade, or Sade.
Oh, Sade. Sade.
Okay.
Love her.
Yeah, and of course, Shino does so too, right? Alicia Keys versus Beyonce. That is our last one.
Oh, I gotta go Beyonce. For more specific, here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Listen, Alicia, when she got to sing about New York, she put the team on her back. You know, can't take that away from her.
Yeah.
But Beyonce, I mean, just the sort of. I just feel like the way that she's gone about her career, and especially like self-titled and on, I think she is a phenomenal artist, and I love the way that her videos look, the way that her live shows look are unlike anybody else. And also, I mean, her and Jay-Z shut down the Louvre for the day to shoot a video. Like,
who gets to do that, right?
That's an amazing feat. Like, I would love to do that too. I've been to the Louvre, like, to shut that whole thing down. That's like the Louvre is like another city within Paris.
Yeah, it is. I got one last one.
Yeah.
I got one last one. That's of course related to my shirt in some ways, coming from a hardcore background, and I heard that you also like that a little bit. You get to choose between Touche Amores, Stage 4, and La Dispute's Wildlife.
Oh, that's good. You got a good. I like your brain, man. That's a fucking good question. I am going to go. Stage 4. Touche Amore. I mean, I love La Dispute, and my girlfriend and I actually just saw them play Wildlife in full last week, 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of crazy that record still holds like resonance with like people younger than me, which is pretty fucking crazy. And but when it comes to Touche, they up until recently, and it's only 2 songs, but only up until recently, they can do no wrong. And I think Stage 4 fits in they're doing no wrong. Yeah. And plus, to start your album with Flowers and You, like that, that's an amazing opening track.
Yeah. Although I have to say that the best track on those 2 records is definitely King Park.
Oh yeah.
But I would also go with Stage 4. Yeah. King Park is undeniable classic.
Yeah.
So, Matt, thanks for taking your time. All the best with the application to Magic Mike. And so, have a good day, man. Take care.
Yo, man. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Later.